Members, moving on to Senate third reading. Item 46, Senator Jackson, are you prepared?
I am.
Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Joint Resolution 19 by Senator Jackson relative to women's reproductive health.
Thank you, Madam President and colleagues. A week or so ago, I stood up here as a point of personal privilege to acknowledge the anniversary of Roe v. Wade. Today, I present to you SJR 19, which reaffirms that the state of California stands in strong support of Roe v. Wade and the work of Planned Parenthood, both of which are essential to women's reproductive health. January 26, 2016 marked the anniversary of the United States Supreme Court's landmark decision in Roe, which acknowledged the principle that every woman has a fundamental right to control her own reproductive decisions, and it is the cornerstone of women's strides towards equality over the past 40 years. Recent reports have found that threats of harassment, intimidation, and violence against women's health clinics have doubled since 2010. Indeed, as recently as November of last year, a Planned Parenthood clinic was the target of a heinous act of domestic terrorism, which resulted in the deaths of 3 innocent people and injuries to 9 others. Also, in my neighboring district in the city of Thousand Oaks, another Planned Parenthood clinic was the target of arson, and the stories continue to go on. And furthermore, hidden camera videos released last summer have prompted several investigations into alleged misconduct by Planned Parenthood. But in fact, just a few days ago, a Texas grand jury convened with the purpose of investigating Planned Parenthood. Not only did they clear the organization of any misconduct, but they went a step further and instead indicted 2 members of the group that made the videos. These insidious, illegal, and indeed criminal efforts to undermine women's reproductive health must stop. Texas is the 12th state in the nation in which investigations stemming from these videos have found no wrongdoing by Planned Parenthood. In fact, the Congressional House Oversight and Government Reform Committee's investigation also found no evidence of misconduct. Nonetheless, irrespective of the facts, irrespective of the truth, several states are moving toward defunding this organization. These unconscionable efforts threaten to deprive our nation's young women and our nation's poorest women of health services that they desperately need. 97% of what Planned Parenthood provides are well women exams, birth control, testing and treatment of sexually transmitted infections, and HIV, pregnancy tests, life-saving cancer screenings, sex education, prenatal care, and other life-saving primary care services. A sudden defunding of Planned Parenthood's health centers by federal or state governments would put California's patients at risk because Planned Parenthood is sometimes the only source of health care services available to these women. Members, that is why it is vital that we urge the President of the United States and Congress to support access to comprehensive reproductive health care, including the services provided by Planned Parenthood, that we uphold a woman's fundamental right to control her own reproductive decisions, and strongly oppose efforts to eliminate federal funding for Planned Parenthood. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Any discussion or debate? Senator Morlock? Question, oh, yes. Senator Morlock at Senator Monning's desk.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in opposition to the resolution. Watched the video, not a video, but a documentary on CNN And there was a young 23-year-old co-ed who realized she could not keep her baby. So she flew to San Francisco to have it naturally. And when she found out the adoptive parents did not have college educations, she requested that her baby be able to go to college. And so the parents made that commitment. So 20 years later, Mr. and Mrs. Jobs made sure that Steve went to college. So I thought it was interesting that Steve Jobs, who's pretty much changed the world and given us our iPhones, and I should have brought it with me, has changed our world. So I just want to thank those mothers that have gone full term and put their babies up for adoption. Another Californian by the name of, from an LA girl, Angelina Jolie, I just want to bring her up. She was born in LA and adopted 3 children. I just want to thank the mothers that have adopted children. I also want to be with those mothers that lament that they give up one of their children in a brutal and rough manner, and now want to let them know that there's support groups that are available. But I have trouble, Madam President, with government supporting a monopoly. It seemed like Theodore Roosevelt kind of put an end to that, theoretically, but that we just provide funding for one nonprofit does not strike me as a well-balanced health care opportunity, and it doesn't seem to me as good governance to just give all our funding to just one nonprofit organization. So, Madam President, I oppose SJR 19. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Morlock. Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I stand as a woman within her reproductive age, proudly to support SJR 19. I also stand as an adoptive parent, and I am clear that my choice to adopt my son has nothing to do with my choice of my own reproductive organs and my body. To suggest that women come by this decision cavalierly is naive at best. To be reminded and told about individuals who are adoptees who have changed the world has virtually no bearing on the role and work of a nonprofit organization that spends more of its resources and time providing critical preventive health services, screening services, etc. If we as government funded appropriately healthcare delivery systems in our state, perhaps so many of all of our constituents wouldn't rely so heavily on a particular nonprofit or other community clinic to receive services that I believe that they as Americans, as Californians, are entitled to. So I stand in support of SJR 19. I stand in support of the law of the land. I stand as an adoptive parent, as a woman, to say that all women and girls and those who love us ought to respect the fact that we have a fundamental human right to make the decision that is best for us as women. With that, I ask for your support of SJR 19.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Senator Runner at Senator Monning's desk.
Thank you, President and members. I rise in opposition to this resolution to Congress. I am an adopted mother as well and an adopted grandmother to a 22-year-old now that was in foster care that my kids adopted and had come live with them when he was 11 and raised him as their own, and he's part of our family. I believe every one of those aborted babies are wanted by someone. The waiting list for adoption is incredible. When I worked with pregnancy counseling centers and counseled girls that were pregnant and gave them the option of adoption, oftentimes I'm not sure Planned Parenthood actually does that. I wish they would. give more options as far as adoptions go. And as I think of the millions of babies that have been aborted, the majority of them are minorities. Just see in my mind those who can, in the future, could have been, cures for cancer, cures for all kinds of things that are here now. So I rise in opposition to SJR 19. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Runner. Senator Nielsen at Senator Monning's desk.
Thank you, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. I speak to the need for the inclusion of other options as well. There are over 100 other pregnancy crisis centers in the state of California that inform women of their options that are available to them. Counseling, parenting classes, supplies for the babies. They offer financial aid. There are licensed clinics that include sonograms, prenatal exams, sexually transmitted disease testing. These clinics take a holistic approach to parenting and pregnancy testing and pregnancy. They equip women with the resources to make the decisions and what their options are, including full-term birth, adoption. These centers help women. They help families. And they help bring lives into the world that otherwise would be forfeited. It is well that we remember that these are extant throughout America, throughout the world, and many women should be availed these. These must not be excluded from our consideration. I would oppose this resolution.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Senator Hall?
Yes, very quick. As the vice chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, I stand in support, and the Black Caucus stands in support of SJR 19, sponsored by Senator Jackson. And I would not go and try to counter all of the rhetoric that I'm hearing on this floor. But there are many agencies like Planned Parenthood and many others that are doing exceptional jobs in the work that they do. And I never hear, and I'm not here to dialogue much because I'm a male, and I certainly don't get in the way of the decisions of a woman to take her care of her body and the decisions that she make. I don't see women standing on this floor telling men what to do and how to manage their bodies either. So I don't think I'm qualified to do that. But what I do is stand in support of SJR 19 by Senator Jackson. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hall. Senator Morrell at Senator Monning's desk.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Members, I do stand in opposition to this bill, and I have no war on anybody, but I do have a right to speak out because I just want to go on the record and let all know that I appreciate babies. I love babies who are created in the image of God, and therefore they should be protected. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Senator Morrell. Seeing no further discussion, Senator Jackson, would you like to close?
Very briefly, again, the decision in Roe came some 4 decades ago, recognizing that women and not strangers, not politicians, but that women, in consultation with their partners, their medical providers, and whomever they choose, should have and do have a fundamental constitutional right to decide what is going to happen with their own bodies. This has been a key to women being able to achieve equality in the world, to bring those into the world to be loved and cared for. I think we all love children. As a grandmother, I think of nothing more special than the joy of having a granddaughter that I can smother with love and spoil rotten and then send home to her parents, whose responsibility it is to raise her. And they do so consciously, lovingly, volitionally, intentionally. And that is the purpose of this resolution today. I would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No. Bates? No. Bell? Aye. Berryhill? No. Block? Aye. Cannella? De Leon? Aye. Fuller? No. Gaines? Galgiani? Aye. Glazer? Aye. Hall? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Hernandez? Aye. Hertzberg? Aye. Hill? Aye. Wesso? Aye. Huff? No. Jackson? Aye. Latta? Aye. Leno? Leyva? Aye. Liu? Aye. McGuire? Aye. Mendoza? Aye. Mitchell? Aye. Monning? Aye. Morlock? No. Morell? No. Wynn? No. Nilsson? No. Pan? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Roth? Aye. Runner? No. Stone? No. Vidak? No. Wykowski? Aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Cannella? Gaines? Leno?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 25, noes 12. The resolution is adopted. Members, we are going to move to file item 49, Senator Pan. Pass on file. Thank you. We're now moving to item number 51, Senator, pass on file. Item 52, Senator Fuller. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 101 by Senator Fuller relative to California Girls and Women in Sports Week.
Senator Fuller at Senator Monning's desk.
Madam President, members and guests, I rise today to present SCR 101, designating this week as California Girls and Women in Sports Week. The first National Girls and Women in Sports Day was proclaimed on February 4th, 1987, in honor of Flo Hyman, a volleyball legend known for her efforts to promote women in sports. That day has blossomed into a full week recognizing the importance of sports in the lives of girls and women. Through sports, we learn the values that will last a lifetime: discipline, accountability, citizenship, confidence, leadership. We learn that winning can be done with class and that we should respect our competitors regardless of the outcome. As an educator, I have seen the opportunity that sports has given young women. Sports provide girls with positive role models in coaches and boosters and give female athletes the opportunity to be a role model for others. Title IX is largely the reason for the growth of girls and women's sports in the United States. The federal amendment passed almost 44 years ago broke down barriers for girls and women in sports, and through athletic scholarships made many new educational opportunities available. But perhaps the greatest legacy of Title IX is that a generation of young women have grown up strong and self-assured because of their participation in sports, which is so ingrained in our society today that those young women cannot even imagine what it was like to be sidelined from sports in the days when there were women's sports only occasionally in volunteer and men's sports on a regular basis. I am humbled to recognize California Girls and Women in Sports Week and acknowledge all the female athletes, past, present, and future, who will make a positive impact on our state because of what they have learned through sports. As an educator, I have seen women grow to a whole new mental attitude and space. So I'm very grateful for this, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Fuller. Senator Jackson?
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, want to stand in support and want to thank the good senator from Bakersfield for recognizing the importance of women and girls in sports, and that the motivation for this came because of the passage in 1972, as was mentioned, of Title IX, which prohibits sex discrimination in any educational program or activity receiving any type of federal money. This was truly a landmark piece of legislation. For many of us who preceded Title IX, the opportunities to participate in sports in schools were virtually nil. If the gym was left open and the janitor had forgotten to lock the key that locked the light in the gym, then the girls could go and play basketball. If by chance the boys' team was done with the softball field or the baseball field before dark, the girls did get a chance to go out and play. But the notion that girls should be able to compete in sports only became a fulfilled moment as a result of Title IX. In fact, the year before Title IX was enacted, there were about 310,000 girls and women in the entire United States playing high school and college sports. Today, there are more than 3.3 million who do so. And I know that I have had, and we have had colleagues whose daughters were star softball players, daughters on the Republican side and on the Democratic side, whose daughters were involved in sports, who because of that involvement in sports went on to become doctors and lawyers. Well, maybe that isn't such a great thing, but from those of us who understood and appreciated, as so many men have, the importance of being able to play as an athlete, to understand and learn teamwork, the joy of victory, taking responsibility, being part of a we and not just an I, being part of a victorious team or a losing team, and understanding both the agony of defeat as well as the joy of victory. This has been one of the most critical advances for young girls and women in our country, and the protections of Title IX continue to be important as it relates to athletics today. And so I look to my colleagues and know that many of you with daughters have been able to enjoy their participation in sports, to be able to talk with them and share with them a whole world that would otherwise not be available, but for the commitment that we have made in this country and in this state. And that we should all recognize the barriers to participation and equality in sports still exist, and that there are various forms of either implicit or explicit bias on school campuses which result in poorly maintained equipment, unequal fields, and unfair game schedules. But we should also note that before her untimely death, Flo Hyman, for whom this whole effort really took hold, was a big supporter of Title IX before her passing. And I recall back in the Olympics, I think it was 1982 or 84, we had more women in the United States winning gold medals than our male counterparts. Remember, it doesn't just end or doesn't start at the finish line. It starts at the beginning. And with these kinds of activities, it brings an opportunity for girls and women to participate and enjoy the excitement of sports and go on to be full, satisfying, and successful women in whatever endeavors they choose. So with that, I would thank the good senator from Bakersfield for bringing this measure. I could go on about Title IX, but it's time to just simply ask for your support.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Senator Nielsen at Senator Monning's desk.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, if I may make this one a little closer to home, and maybe a little historic too. As a track and field athlete, I've always taken a fancy to one of the greatest women athletes of all time, Babe Didrikson Zaharias. She was a track and field athlete who won many Olympic gold medals at a time when women just did not compete in athletics. It wasn't the feminine thing to do, but Babe Didrikson Zaharias did not care, and she became world famous and world renowned. Now, as to the close at home, my deputy chief of staff, Rob Olmsted's mother, is Chris Van Salsa from Sacramento, who competed in the Rome Olympics in 1960, winning many gold medals. A beautiful woman who went from Sacramento to the cover of Sports Illustrated, a true competitor. And it was mentioned the 1984 Olympic Games. And I remember being there, watching particularly the women's discus. Being a shot put discus guy, I kind of took a fancy to those particular events. And I remember a relatively unknown or unsung female discus thrower on her final throw in those Olympic Games going from 6th to 2nd place in the women's Olympic discus. Her name was Leslie Denise, and she came from the small town of Gridley, California, in the 4th Senate District. It shows that great athletes, male or female, can come from anywhere. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, women have a distinguished history of being great competitive athletes. And there are even now professional women boxers. And I think I would not want to get into the ring with some of them. They are fierce competitors. I urge and I vote.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Senator Fuller, would you like to close?
I would like to conclude with this. Issue is obviously a bipartisan issue, and it's something we as Californians can be proud of, and it's something we as Californians can do to help all of our population be healthier and stronger and better citizens and move forward in a positive way together. And I thank you all, and the senator from Santa Barbara, I thank you for your support today, and I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Fuller. Members, is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 38, no 0. Measure passes. Thank you. All right, moving along to file item 53, Senator Hall. I'd pass on file. Thank you. Senator Pan, file item 54. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 95 by Senator Pan relative to the Lunar New Year celebration.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, Senators. I am pleased to present to you Senate Concurrent Resolution 95 and to wish everyone a happy and prosperous Lunar New Year. This Lunar New Year will fall on February 8th, so even as many of us may be excited about the upcoming game on February 7th, many others in our state will be celebrating the coming of the new year, the beginning of the Fire Monkey Year. The Lunar New Year follows a 12-year cycle of the animal zodiac, where an animal corresponds to each year. And in addition, there's also an element associated with yin and yang that are rotated every 12 years and paired with a zodiac animal. So the monkey is the 9th animal in the zodiac and is said to be curious and clever. So when combined with the element of fire, those born in the year of the monkey tend to gravitate toward leadership roles. So I would like to thank my good colleague from Diamond Bar for working with my office, and I'd also like to thank the co-authors on this resolution, also to acknowledge the senators from both Garden Grove and Ceres who were not able to add on before this presentation as co-authors, but also joining as co-authors. So please join me in celebrating the Lunar New Year, the year of the fire monkey. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Xin Kuai La.
Thank you, Senator Pan. Senator Huff at Senator Monning's desk.
Thank you, Senator Monning, for sharing your mic with me. Since ours are not working. Well, you know, in my district, I've been already to many functions where it starts off with "大家好,新年快乐,恭喜发财,恭喜发财," and you know, the last being in Cantonese and whatever. But this is a very important. It is actually the most important holiday in our Asian cultures. And to our credit, we in the Senate passed off SB 616 recently to the Assembly, which would recognize this as a national, a state day of significance in the education code. So hopefully that passes through the Assembly. But this is a big deal. And as we see an increasing number of immigrants coming from Asia, it's important for us to understand the culture they come from as they're assimilating into ours. I mean, I've been to China, and they're fully celebrating Christmas over there, perhaps for different reasons. But similarly, as they come here, we need to understand what's important to them, and particularly sometimes our businesses and schools need to understand why there's big vacancy rates, because the kids are off with their families celebrating and doing other things. But anyway, it is a great year. It's interesting. Every zodiac animal has some really positive qualities, and the fire monkey certainly has many of those. They're wise and cunning. So for all you monkeys out here, don't see outside.
Thank you, Senator Huff. Senator Pan, would you like to close?
I'd just like to thank my good colleague from Diamond Bar for his impressive command of various Asian languages, and again, respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pan. Members, is there any objection to using the unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 38, noes 0, measure passes. Thank you. All right, members, moving on to Assembly third reading. Senator Pan, are you prepared? Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 9 by Assemblymember McCarty relative to Pet Care Education Month.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, today I rise to present ACR 9, which commemorates January 2016 as Pet Care Education Month. This resolution encourages California's pet owners to take reasonable steps to ensure proper preventative care for their pets. These include regular visits to the veterinarians and providing necessary medications, including immunizations. Pets are a part of our families and can be devastating both emotionally and financially when they are facing life-threatening health issues. And many of the causes of these health issues, such as dental and skin issues, parvo, and heartworm, are preventable with regular visits to the vet. The benefits of encouraging Californians to take steps to ensure preventative care for their pets offer real benefits. With preventative care, pet owners will not only have healthier pets, but they will also reduce the risk of serious illnesses, which can be very expensive to treat. Animal welfare organizations, often funded by local taxpayers, step in when pet owners are unable to afford expensive treatments. And with better preventative care, it can help reduce the strain on local budgets. Please help keep our furry friends healthy and happy by voting aye on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pan. Any debate or discussion? Members, is there any objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 38, no 0, measure passes. Members, we are going to return to privileges of the floor. Senator Jackson, for what purpose do you rise?
Yes, thank you. For purposes of introduction, I'd like to take this moment to introduce a big supporter of Title IX, who has been the voice of the UCSB Women Gauchos basketball team for the last 22 years, who is here joining me today to celebrate his birthday. My husband, who, George, would you mind just standing up so everyone can say hello? My husband, retired Judge George Eskin.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Welcome, Mr. Jackson. Members, any other privileges of the floor? Yes, Senator Roth. For what purpose do you rise?
For purposes of introduction.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Since we're doing introductions, I would like my colleagues to meet, those of you who have not met, the brains in my family, the hardest working person that I know, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Riverside Chambers of Commerce, my spouse, Cindy Roth, standing in the back.
Welcome, Mrs. Roth. Senator Hancock, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I also wanted to introduce a friend of mine who's here, Judge George Eskin from Santa Barbara. Would the members please welcome Judge Eskin?
Welcome, Judge. Thank you, Senator Hancock. All right, members, any other privileges of the floor? We are going to move on to motions and resolutions. This would be the appropriate time for adjourn and memories. Seeing none, if there is no other business, Senator De Leon, the desk is clear. Senator De Leon at Senator Monning's desk.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Colleagues, we will adjourn and we will have session on Thursday at 9 a.m. Thursday at 9 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator De Leon. The Senate will be in recess until 3:30 p.m., at which time the adjournment motion will be made. We will convene Thursday at 9 a.m. Have a great day, members.